All right, hey everybody, welcome to another one of our webinars. Today we are covering why Acumatica outshines Microsoft Dynamics GP. My name is Chris Isbell from Martin and Associates, and quick look at the agenda today. Starting off, just a quick thank you. We appreciate you joining and being a part of this. So just a quick reminder, we're Martin and Associates, been around since '88 doing ERP implementations in the small mid-size arena. And besides, you guys probably know us from Microsoft Dynamics GP. So we do that. We also do some other cloud-based products like Acumatica. So joining me today on the webinar is our Acumatica practice manager, Tom Ferris. He'll be leading most of the show today. And before I jump into him, a couple housekeeping items. So we are recording this presentation, and afterwards a link will be sent to everyone that signed up in the next couple of days. And then if you have any questions, please use the Zoom chat or Q&A feature. We'll be monitoring that throughout the presentation, and we can answer questions. If they're super relevant to what's going on, we'll answer it right then, and we'll jump in. Otherwise, we'll do that at the end of the demo. So awesome. So we have, done a lot of implementations that you guys know us from, and then we have done some conversions from other, I'm going to say, older based ERPs to, a newer cloud-based Acumatica, and we've had good success there. So we will kind of jump right in. I'm about ready to hand it over to Tom, and he will be talking about Acumatica and doing, showing you guys the software. So take it away, Tom.
Great. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it. All right, so we're done with the slide. Show introduction of us at Martin Associates. I'll go through a few brief slides introducing Acumatica, the publisher, and then we'll dive into our demonstration. Acumatica is a cloud, kind of born in the cloud ERP. The company was founded about 14 years ago. It essentially is a SQL database with a web interface. You can log in from really any operating system, device, or browser. So you could be running Linux and choosing Firefox, or today I'm presenting from a Windows 10 machine running the Edge browser, for example. That architecture means that integrations, whether that's a flat file data exchange or an API that's kind of bidirectional and automated, are easy to build. And this slide shows like a small subset of the third parties that provide everything from document management to shipping automation to tax calculation, and their efforts or the efforts of third parties to build APIs between Acumatica and other cloud-based applications. That goes fairly easily. And Martin Associates, we possess the skill set and are credentialed developers and can develop APIs that are unique to our customers' needs. It's the cloud, so it's always up and running. Acumatica is at, I think, 4 nines of uptime over the course of their history. They partner with Amazon Web Services, or AWS, as the primary hosting service for SaaS applications. The technology platform also means, like, today we'll even take a look at the mobile app that comes with an Acumatica subscription, no extra cost, to access a mobile interface to the ERP. Security, open standards, etc. Obviously, access from any device, as I mentioned. The architecture also means AI and machine learning, so optical character recognition or OCR scanning, and other automation platforms that happen outside of the ERP. It's kind of seamless to us users, whether or not Acumatica is doing the work, or there's a third-party interface that is actually helping us do the work. So again, it's really kind of leveraging open API technology. Acumatica has a customer bill of rights. I won't read all this because we'll provide this to you in writing, but there's a few things like, if you're new to the cloud, tile number 8 here talks about ownership of data. Because it's a SQL database, if at any point in time you wanted a copy of your full database, or if you are exiting Acumatica, Acumatica makes accessible a full SQL.eak backup file at any point in time. Right? And Acumatica is sold exclusively through partners like Martin Associates. That they do. Their job is to make good software, and Martin Associates, our job is to sell and support our customers using that software. Acumatica has a variety of licensing models, including their default of unlimited users, which is a consumption-based license that we can go into details. Chris and I could talk to any one of you on this call if you have specific questions. There are concurrent user license options that are kind of more standard licensing. The great thing about the unlimited license means that everybody's accessing some of the dashboards and forms, reports, let alone the transaction history that we'll see. Acumatica also provides free of charge. In fact, you can go there now. Acumatica Open University is a free training database. There's basically about 100 courses there, including courses that Chris and I and other Acumatica practitioners here at Martin Associates use for our certifications and certification maintenance. And you don't have to be a customer. You could be a prospect just inquiring, and you can obtain a free login to Acumatica Open University. Great resource for customers who are getting ready to go live or have gone live and have staff turnover. Again, while Acumatica hasn't been around some 14 years, as long as some of its competitors in the mid-market ERP space, they have been racking up and continue to rack up technical and usability awards, from a variety of reviewers for this slide here. All right, that's enough of that Acumatica introduction as far as the publisher. It's time to take a look at software and begin to review some features that might be especially appealing to folks coming off of or preparing to come off of Great Plains GP. All right, so I'm switching over to a particular dashboard that is my default login for my example company here. A quick reminder that it's a web-based application, and so there is no client install. There's no server required. And really, your only hardware requirements are a workstation for folks that has access to the internet. At the same time, Acumatica, if you want to, can be deployed locally, so you don't have to go with the SaaS offering. About 10% of our customers have business reasons why they want to put Acumatica behind their own firewall and continue to maintain a server, or even contract with a third party that's not Amazon Web Services for hosting. Those are all options. No change to the software. There aren't different versions of the software. It's all one. There's only one Acumatica. And where you choose to put it is up to you, and that can change. And there's really no cost to the license charge, depending on where your Acumatica database resides, behind your firewall or with Amazon Web Services. All right. We'll keep coming back to dashboards like this customer view. Maybe at the tail end and throughout the demo, I want to cover some specific functions. Chris being the manager of our Microsoft GP practice, it gave me some highlights that I want to make sure I run through. So we can come back maybe to dashboards and some of the other kind of cool usability features. But for right now, I'm going to kind of dive into some specifics. I'm going to begin with managing an organization's structure here in your financial package, starting with the fact that a given Acumatica tenant that we're logged into can actually reflect multiple companies and or branches. What's a branch? A branch is really anything that we decide it is. It could be a sales territory. It could be a totally different EIN. It could be a geographic region. It could even be physical locations where we want to have differentiated financials, all kind of talking to a common chart of accounts. And the branch record can even have security. You might grant access to certain users to one branch or 3 of the branches or all of the branches. We'll see this play out when we look at some of the financial statements. Our ability to have a single P&L, single income statement that aggregates, consolidates everything for certain users, and for other users, they only see the business entity that they are responsible for. And this construct, in this case, our sales demo database has 3 companies and 4 branches. This is up to you. Acumatica does not care. There's no license impact to saying I need only 1 company. I have 12 different companies spanning 37 branches. That's just a configuration. So no change to the license cost for that. All right. And if we pop into the configuration that sits behind those, let's go take a look at a company record to kind of drive that point home a little bit. We pick up the products company, and we've defined multiple branches. Again, we're using a common actual ledger, and we're also making sure that this company has access to a budgeting ledger and, if applicable, a statistical ledger. Visiting the branch record. Again, the branch record could have its own tax ID, or it could just be common to the company. And then we can also choose to have security, a login role that allows a given user to see and interact with one of those branches, have reports reveal data associated with that branch or not. This branch configuration and company configuration also becomes the basis for intercompany transactions, which we'll see a little bit later. Once that branch structure is defined, another feature that we get to take advantage of today, even in looking at like some approval mapping, is a user-defined company tree. So the company tree interacting with branches, we can basically say what groups do we want to have, say, document approval, whether the approval is a quote, an AP bill, a journal entry that needs to be authorized. We can have the same person present and kind of overseeing different groups or work groups within that company tree. There'll be a few spots where we see the word work group referenced on documents. And this is, again, a user-defined construct. You can make this as sophisticated as you need. And this is also what allows for proxy approval. If we're all in the same work group, where Jason Mendenhall is the owner of this work group, the presence of Michael and Max, Maxwell Baker here, allows those 2 parties to, by default, perform proxy approval when Jason Mendenhall is on vacation, for example. All right. Last little part of this kind of company and branch structure would be a quick peek at the user security. So let's pop in and take a quick peek at the details. Now let's do a summary. Acumatica comes with a library of predefined user roles. There's those branch roles that kind of help define access to our branch structure that we grant to users as we see fit. And then Acumatica moves through the modules, CRM, fixed assets, inventory, and adding these roles, inventory manager, inventory clerk, inventory shipper, to a given user, helps us easily manage the appropriate permissions that we want to grant. From those roles, we can assemble those roles into a particular user type. This is kind of like a bucket where we say these 8 persons, they're sales employees, and these are the user roles that they should have access to. Okay, that's a quick little preview of kind of branches and security management. Let's get into employing some of those features and looking at an example financial report, P&L, or income statement. All right, okay, so I'm going to backdate this a little bit. I'm not looking at today's data. Our demo data is a little bit old, so I'm looking at February, but let's run that report. Acumatica comes with a financial reporting package called Analytical Reports Manager, or ARM for short. And here's one way that it renders. And if we take a look at the ability to drill down kind of real time, this financial statement is dynamic. It's actually referencing transactions. As I drill down into the general ledger details, I'm looking at a breakdown of natural accounts and user-defined sub-accounts or dimensions that help define what I'm seeing. And then if I pop into a given line, kind of really the intersection between natural account and sub-account for that period, I'm brought to the underlying transactions. This is a revenue account, so I really want to pay attention to data that's coming in from the accounts receivable subledger. And our hyperlink right here allows me to go actually visit a bridge right to the actual invoice that's helping contribute to this, that period's balance. Right, so now we're actually looking at a customer record and what we sold them, and I could drill in and further discern when it was shipped to them. And then if I'm in the accounts receivable subledger, looking at this AR invoice document, the financial tab will take me back the other direction to the GL post. All right, so it's a little bit of live drill down from the financial statement. Now let's put our kind of companies and branches. I'll draw our attention to about $6.2 million worth of income in February, top line. We come up here. Again, I'm looking at this report in a consolidated view. If I want to look at contributions from the retail branch, got about 1 million of the 6 from them. Products wholesale branch contributing 3.5. That must be some balance across the services company. Yep, they've contributed another 1.6 million. And again, if we granted access to the same report for a user who didn't have access to all of the branches, they would see a version of this report that rendered more like this if we only granted them access to the East and West service branches, for example. Same report, same formatting, don't have to make another copy of the report. It's just the security model overlay kicks in and has them seeing this view. To highlight how easy it can be to manipulate these financial reports, we'll put it into edit mode here, and that unit set that's driving the group, rather than breaking things down by geographic region, maybe I want to break down the P&L by product line. And hit save and close on that, and refresh. And we'll rerun for February, same $6.2 million for February. And now our little group invites us to look at the contributions by product line. All right, so consumer goods contributing consolidated view across all companies, some 2.2, electronics and computers, 864K. All right, so that's a quick example of, say, a P&L, which will be one of really balance sheet, P&L, and cash flow statement are the ones that come out of the box. We'll see variants of basically using the column set to show that same P&L. I picked a different period, but having the actual a rolling 12 view. All right, that's the same row set definitions cross-tabbed against, instead of 2 columns for year to date and period to date, I just start hard defining periods from the date backwards. Right, so those are all a couple examples. The breakdown that we saw here let's go back to our P&L. The breakdown that we saw on a per product line basis, this is driven by the sub-account feature in Acumatica, where we basically put together a library of valid combinations between segments. In this case, to kind of reveal our segments, what we're really looking at here is, again, a user-defined construct. You kind of get to make up as many of these and make this as sophisticated as your business needs. So we're looking at the sub-account segmented key. In our instance here, we've got 30 characters to work with. We can have up to 10 segments. We're only using 2 in our demo data. We've said this business wants to divvy things up by product groups. So that's really stock item IDs and also by department contribution. And if we look at the list here, here's the segments of segment values of segment 1, the product group, 0, consumer, electronics, computers. We take those available combinations across segments 1 and 2 and combine them into valid combinations.
Correct. So, Tom, can I jump in here real quick?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, for all you GP lovers, this is a kind of a differentiation from how you're used to it. Whereas, in GP, you've got your what as your account is a combination of the main account plus any segments that you might have, whether that's 2, 3, 4, 5 segments or whatever that identify a department, a location, whatever. And so what Acumatica does is basically splits that out into 2 pieces to minimize your main chart of accounts, which is AR, AP, rent, expense, whatever, and then all those other segments that currently make up your GL account are included in the sub account segments. And then as you'll probably be able to see, you can do reports by those sub account segments. You can filter some inquiries by those. So it's a pretty good way of doing it, but it is a little bit different than GP does it. But it does kind of, instead of having 6,000 accounts or something like that, you might have a 200 main accounts in your chart, and then all the valid sub account options. And then when you're transacting, as Tom will probably show you, you pick an account and a sub account. So just a slight differentiator, but it kind of cleans up the chart and gives you some good reporting and inquiry capabilities.
Yeah, perfect, Chris. Yeah, and again, we can kind of see that structure playing out when we drill into a given P&L node, like our top line revenue here. The next layer down is really a combination of the natural account from the chart of accounts and then the sub account. So you're right, lots of systems would just kind of combine these, and they might even have them in a different order, like the CON 40,000-000, whereas in Acumatica, break that out into the natural account and then the user-defined sub account. Okay, cool. Thanks for kind of pointing out that little paradigm shift. All right. And again, we'll continue to see those play out in the balance of our demo. I'm going to go next to like a usability feature associated with journal entries. So this is kind of highlighting a capacity of Acumatica. And I promised myself I would go to a particular transaction that's already in the database. All right, so we've got a monthly payroll expense. And there's a couple different ways to facilitate data entry that's one-off, data entry that is recurring and regular. One highlight is interacting with Excel. So drop it out from Acumatica to Excel and then bring it right back in. And that's just one technique. So if I take this grid here and drop that out to Excel, that will allow me, and I'll highlight Excel here when that pops up. Let's grab, that's gonna be my downloads folder, that's where that's gonna go. All right, so let's pull that on screen here for us. All right, so just to kind of give you all visibility to that grid. If this is my journal entry or like a disbursement schedule coming from ADP or some other payroll processing firm, I get it ready in something that looks a little bit like this in Excel. Let's just save that and get that out of the way. And we'll get this out of the way too. And now what I'm really doing is in July payroll. Save my kind of placeholder in the appropriate period, load records from file, browse on out to my downloads, and this little mini mapping here, update existing versus insert all records, even if I already have some records that I started to manually type in there, or maybe I'm doing multiple imports. Right now, it doesn't really matter since I've got a blank slate. A little mini mapping activity. Now I created this template straight from Acumatica, so the column names are all the same, so that's easy. And with that, I've uploaded the journal entry for the July payroll that came over from ADP. That I've loaded it and it's ready to transact and be posted. Acumatica also supports just drag and drop file attachments. So the actual raw full file that came over from ADP, I can attach that as kind of like a work paper. If this needs to go through an approval before it posts, that's an option too. And I should be able to just release this. And there we go. So I uploaded and posted the payroll. Other options for creating this, if I go back to the one I started with, this document helps us kind of highlight a couple other options. One, good old copy and paste. That will grab everything, including the period and the details, literally verbatim, to a new document ID, and then I can make modifications to it. So good old copy and paste. Can also, if I'm going to refer to this particular data as a template, I can actually paste from template, having made it a template item. A third option is running a scheduled activity. This GL1963 is actually a document that never posts. It's called status equals scheduled. Its job is to be a template that the generate recurring transactions process picks up and executes on. So, and this ability to generate recurring transactions can be present in accounts payable and accounts receivable. You can actually have those running on a schedule as well. So a bunch of different ways to basically kind of craft a recurring entry. In fact, Acumatica's demo data here, here's the list of recurring transactions. Monthly interest. I'm tired of forgetting about it. So let Acumatica running on a schedule kind of automatically generate boom, 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 month after month, my, it'll start out at $50,000, and all I have to really do is edit what that particular monthly interest payment on a given loan was. If that's going to stay stable for a long time, this thing can just run with no limit. If I want to predefine a series that's good for the next 9 months, fine, make it for just 9 months. But let the automation schedule in Acumatica pick it up and create it for us. Doesn't have to post necessarily. It can just be sitting queued up as a journal entry that's sitting in a status, not of posted, but has been created for us, and it's sitting on hold, or it's sitting in a balanced state waiting to be released. All right. Switching gears, we're going to leave the financial module behind here and do a little bit of kind of CRM and sales tour here. So let's pop into particular sales order for starters. And what did I say? We're at 7463. Oh, it's right there. Okay. All right. So this is basically a CRM tour working backwards. The objective of CRM, land sales, right? So this is the sale. And what we're going to do is kind of work our way backwards and understand how the CRM features of Acumatica helped us land this sale. In this case, this main one right here, this is for an existing customer, but I'll do a quick review of approaching a prospect and kind of recording them as well. All right, so begin first with the relations tab here. So this is basically saying, I'm going to ship these items to them at this date per their order. And I got there through managing an opportunity record and one or more sales quotes to accomplish this. And if we go visit the sales quote record in Acumatica, it's capable of going through a life cycle of I'm still working on it, then I sent it to the customer or prospective customer, and they accepted it or they declined it, and I go back to my drawing board and I come up with a revision to the sales quote. As I go through, and then ideally I am taking that sales quote and converting it to actual live sales order. As I work this particular deal, all the blow-by-blow activities that take place, phone calls, meetings, on-site visits, all those can be recorded in a running activity log. And this is actually a user-defined list: work items, phone calls, messages, creating emails and recording activities that are managed over in Outlook. That can be automated with the Outlook plugin, connecting your Outlook instance to your Acumatica database. We can actually even have tasks. So the creation of a task, I'll pick on one I've already done. A task can actually be a passing of the baton. So I'm logged in as me as an admin, but I ask Neil to help me with some kind of technical product design in preparation of my sales quote. And Neil actually had to do that. Looks like he got done pretty quickly. So there's other components to this. Obviously, the actual detail lines that will end up on the sales order, they're present on the quote. It comes with a print form that Chris can attest to. We pretty much make modifications to this quote form for every customer, but that's easy. This is an Acumatica report designer. This is what it looks like out of the box. Some people don't like the presence of Acumatica saying like, oh, if there's a discount, let's display it. Like, well, we don't do discounts. Okay, fine. We'll just hide this column. Right. So the Acumatica report designer allows us to edit this form for our customers. All right, so print it. Again, we've kind of talked about the relationship. This is actually telling us that this sales quote is related to a derivative, basically a product. After this sales quote, there's a sales order, which is where we started our journey. We started on a particular sales quote. All right, so the documents are all linking themselves to one another. If the sales quote needs to go through an approval process, much like a journal entry posting, there's an approval map that can be created for that. For those who might be in manufacturing, if you have really technical estimates that are based on a bill of materials, we can basically tie the production and manufacturing bills of materials to a sales quote and say a copy of this bill of material was used to help me estimate our costs and thus the customer's price. All right, the last step back would be to look at the governing opportunity record. So why do we have a sales quote and an opportunity? We'll take a look at that. 37, what did I say? 374. Not sure why my eyes lost it in the list. Okay. An opportunity is tying directly back to the like the CRM kind of core. If we have a source campaign to existing customers or to prospects, if they came in as a lead from a trade show upload, it is the opportunity record that helps kind of manage that. The opportunity record also houses like our mathematical probability and a weighted total, and that's going to be based on a user-defined stage. So if we're talking about like a pipeline, what is the value of the pipeline? That's actually managed on the opportunity. Whereas the quotes themselves, they're the client-facing or prospect-facing printout or email, and we can have a series of them. At any one point in time, one and only one quote is currently denoted as the primary, thus driving the value for the opportunity. So we basically have one opportunity and child quotes against it. The opportunity itself have the same activities list. It can also have a relations tab as well about what happened before, what happened afterwards. So again, the opportunity is like the pipeline, and then for kind of internal management, and the sales quote is the customer or prospect facing external document that you're presenting that's eligible to be converted to our sales. All right, while we're on our opportunity list, I'll pull up an example. I had another one there. 390 was addressing a prospect, and rather than somebody who's an existing customer, this one's basically actually giving us visibility to, all right, so Winifred was a lead that was loaded in response to a particular marketing campaign. And if we look at the marketing campaign, we can actually say, look, we're going to spend some money on this marketing campaign. In this case, this is kind of old school highway ad boards. But if we spend this much, we're expecting this much return as far as not just responses, but responses that actually generate opportunities. This is the opportunity that we're looking at, opportunity 390. How many leads does this marketing campaign generate? So now we've worked our way back from a sale back to some of the kind of the marketing core, the interface between sales and marketing. And that's kind of the core of CRM. All right. Now, if there were any other highlights that I might have missed from Chris, or if there are any questions, I will move on to the next topic, some accounts payable management.
Please do.
Thanks, sir. All right, so let's hop into AP, and we're going to kind of highlight how easy interco and automated do from posts can be. Let's go pick on predefined documents. You don't have to watch my miserable typing. All right, this is a resolved or closed AP bill. In fact, this is actually an internal expense reimbursement payable liability. But Jane Doe, she's an employee of the East branch, and she racked up some expenses. And there's a whole expense management. That can be another demo. If you inquire of Chris and I, just let us know. We can talk about the expense management kind of portal and mobile capacity. But I got a payable liability to someone from Services East, but guess who's paying the tab? The company checking account. So when this document comes up for payment, the actual check document, for example, or ACH disbursement, either way, its financial post to the GL is going to obviously credit cash. It's going to resolve the accounts payable liability for, in this case, the Services East branch. And since it was paid for from the company checking account, we have an automated due from and due to pair. That's going to be right there on the financial statements for each of these two branches, Products Wholesale and Services East. This document didn't take any extra effort on the part of the users. Really, when they were during payment, that all happens seamlessly. From the bill, all that it really took was the vendor default. We paid that vendor from the payment method check in our company checking account. And all I really needed to do was make sure that I invoke the correct branch. And if I'm a user in the Services East branch and I have access to only it, then I'll only be able to, I could actually just quietly default the branch. If I'm a user in any of the entities, then I'd have to be careful and make sure I coded to that particular branch to generate that due from. And again, this is optional. So when we look at the inter-branch account mapping that's doing the work behind the scenes, we construct this. So for Services East, where Services East is the originating branch, it's saying for Products Wholesale, really any natural account falling between 00 and 90,000 shall hit the 1900 offset account, and then offsetting that will be 2600. So in other words, if we don't have this configuration here, this bill could have gone through and not generated a due to, due from. That's based on us saying I have multiple branches, and here's how they relate to one another in an intercompany accounting map. All right. The last thing I want to do there. No, I covered it. Okay, sorry, never mind. I was going to go next to a little bit of usability. And I recognize I've got about 15 minutes left. So my accounts payable. Well, yeah, okay, we're on track. Next is like a usability in payables. And that's this, let's take the filter off there. That's this list of bills and adjustments. So we have a fair number of documents here. We got some 3,300, and navigating to documents of a particular status. That's a very common way to maybe filter the database. That's what this little funnel is for. Another way to perform, like getting to the data I need, and even performing some analysis, is Acumatica's ability for a generic inquiry like this of data to just run a pivot table. So I'm taking the 3,300 documents and cross-tabbing them in a pivot table between the status of the documents and the document types, because there are, most of them are bills, but there's some credit and debit adjustments mixed in here. So if what I'm addressing are maybe AP bills that are on hold that are holding up like a period close. I didn't have to go looking through this list. Yes, I could have gone and selected just documents on hold, but a pivot table is kind of like a reusable place to just jump straight to the document or documents that I want to deal with. All right, so that's one kind of like generic inquiry strength. Another is the fact that when we have lists of columns like this, our ability to, on a per user basis, decide what's the column order that I see things. That can be easily defined. Maybe I'm really familiar with the vendor ID values, so I'll keep that listed as my secondary column. Another option, if we have the right user role and a little bit of training, maybe we took the 1-hour course on generic inquiry management on Acumatica Open University, is to come in here and leverage a really cool navigational feature called side panels. Basically, what I want to do is when I'm on a bill, I want to see some details about the actual underlying vendor. And I do need to know which data field on my generic inquiry from the invoice should link to the vendor record. But once I have that set up, save that, do the inquiry once again. Now I've got this little side panel invitation over here. So if I'm hovering over ADT security, I could really do it from either of these two bills, for example. A side panel view lets me kind of pop in to see some things about like the overall vendor's balance, not on this particular document, but like what is the vendor's balance cumulative at present? And okay, that's enough information. That's all I needed, and you can kind of move along. And now as I'm looking at the next, this is a particular document, but I can kind of quickly bridge over to the view of the vendor as a whole. And this ability to build side panels from one place to another, and you can have as many as you want, is something that, of course, Chris and I are here at Martin Associates, and others, our consultants, were ready to build this for you. But with a little bit of training, you can build these kinds of inquiries yourself. Next up was a little bit of razzle dazzle on automation. We're going to take a look at building an AP bill right from our inbox. So if I go back and pull up my documents where I can kind of do some drag and drop. If I take this vendor invoice and drag it into Acumatica, and hit recognize, this is actually taking advantage of both machine learning and an API connection, because this processing isn't actually happening here in my Acumatica database. This is actually a call out to an OCR, optical character recognition platform, that scans the PDF for me. And it's basically looked at the PDF image and it's started to pick up data elements. Vendor reference, that's their invoice number. So that's going to go right on the AP bill. The amount was picked up, surprise, down at the bottom. It'll even dive into the grid or the details and pick up, there's the quantity, the line item description. It will recognize purchase orders and even purchase receipts if applicable. If I think everything looks good, the machine learning part of this is like, well, I would really like a description. So next time around, you find an invoice that looks like this from these guys, please go pick up this field, and this field, and populate that into the description. So that's me teaching the machine, and it'll remember this, and it'll get better and faster each time. And save and continue. This feature, incoming documents, Acumatica just made this part of the software. It used to be like an incremental purchase, but you get your first 50 documents scanned per month for free, or with your Acumatica subscription. All right, so the result is PDF is attached. There's PDF. And the PDF image has been scanned, revealing who's the vendor, what's the due date, and then based on their terms, when should I be? This is the terms that I've offered, or that they've offered me, and I've recorded on their vendor record. And then some detail lines. So put the PDF up on one screen, QA what Acumatica scanned, and take it off hold, and I've got a bill. That process of me physically dragging and dropping in an incoming document screen, that's one workflow. Another workflow is to teach Acumatica through the email interface to monitor accounts payable at XYZ Corp. And Acumatica will actually monitor the inbox, find PDFs, and attempt the scan that I just showed. And if it doesn't find anything valuable or it can't interpret it, it won't create like some fictitious AP bill. If it can't find a vendor, the scan will not complete. All right. Last thing I had was in accounts payable was approval. We've mentioned approval a couple times, so let's actually go take a look at one. So let's get me back to particular bill. And I had one all kind of queued up here, 3649. Okay. All right, this bill is on hold. It's for $99. And if I take it off of hold, which is kind of like my editing mode, it doesn't really care about if I have a control balance that actually equals the document total. But when I take it off of hold, it moves into a balance state, and now it's ready to be released and posted as a live payable liability. But I'm not going to release this. What I'm going to do here is trigger an approval map. So I know that our company policy is if it's over $1,000, it's going to require some sort of approval from somebody. So edit it, change the amount, take that off hold, and instead of going into a balance state eligible for posting, it moves into a pending approval status. And the approval is routed to one Maxwell Baker. If we go look at the approval maps, again, these, just like the company tree and the branch configuration, is all user defined. So where's the, we'll find the multi. Okay, so here's the AP bill multi-line approval. And again, you set these up according to your company's business rules. Large bill approval map says if a document's over $1,000, then route it to Maxwell Baker. And you can actually choose to allow the approval map can grant the ability to reassign it to somebody else or not. And there's also proxy settings, someone's on vacation, and independent of the reassignment, so-and-so, Chris is going to take over approval while I'm on vacation, for example. All right, so now I've got a document waiting approval based on our approval map rules. Yeah, we can do that. Right in the time and expenses module that comes with Acumatica box is a list of approvals. And this approval that's in a pending state could have triggered an SMS text message going to my phone or to Maxwell Baker's phone, or an email alert. Those are a couple different ways that the document could be approved. Simply coming to the list of bills and adjustments and seeing the status of not open, not hold, not balanced, not closed, but pending approval. That's another way. I'm going to use this opportunity to highlight the mobile app. So let's just kind of pull that on the screen here. Down a little bit bigger. Oh, come on. There's that. That's right. There's a little sizing guy. There it is. Thank you. All right. So we're looking at my iPhone mini, 12 mini. And here's the Acumatica mobile app. It comes with all the usual biometrics for logging into the application. And there's a whole bunch of features. There's that time and expenses workspace, CRM, project accounting. We can dive right into sales orders or purchase orders, a whole bunch of stuff. Acumatica comes with, it comes with maybe 150 gadgets that are in the full UI that are exposed to the mobile app. what we're concerned right now is approvals. So I'm going to tap on that. There's our AP bill 3649 that's pending my approval. So here's what it might look like if I am at a customer site and on my lunch break, I notice that there's a document pending approval. And I'm scrolling through the thing going, well, hang on, let me drill into details and understand what's this for what? Okay, the monthly alarm processing for $1,000. Okay, well, actually, I'm pretty used to that. Fine. Back it up and hit approve. So this sales quotes, journal entries, they could all be subject to this kind of like mobile management if from files down here in the lower left. If I actually needed to see like the attachment itself, I can actually view the attachment on my phone. I should be able to refresh Acumatica, the full UI in the background, and see that this document's now ready in a balanced state. And let's get our mobile app out of the way. As far as approvals, it was routed to Maxwell Baker. Someone else could have approved it if they were given proxy rights, but Maxwell Baker approved it. So it's ready to be released. All right, so that's a quick mobile preview, really the relationship between the Acumatica's full UI and how you might find it valuable to have like, a small screen like this accommodate business activities. All right, that's really kind of the end of the main content I wanted to highlight for our GP audience's consideration. Chris, are there any questions or comments that I can address?
Yeah, this was good. Thanks, Tom. I appreciate it.
Of course.
Yeah. I know we're about our limit. Did have one question kind of about, what do I do if I have like some third parties that I use in my current GP system, and how would I handle that?
Gotcha. I think the first thing would be to inquire of Acumatica's marketplace to see if those third-party features that you're currently using, whether it's accounts payable or an FP&A solution or Power BI, Acumatica's library of kind of pre-built integrations between third-party systems is listed here in acumatica.com, Acumatica-marketplace. Really the best way to handle that is for Chris and I to host a conversation, because we know a lot of these players. We know that they might look fancy and some of them are difficult. And if they don't exist on this list, we want to have a conversation about addressing that third-party integration. Yep.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Of course. All right. Well, again, if there aren't any other questions for now on this call, thank you very much for your time. Chris and I really appreciate everybody's attention.
Yeah, and if you do have any questions or want any more info, just please reach out to your GP rep, myself, Tom. We'd love to talk more about it. Thank you, guys.